Okay, so reason why I said Rimu is an overpowered character. Another character in the series, known as Marissa, one of her best friends, had to nerf it.
You get some sleep, Adar. I hope to see you tomorrow.
The
See you later on.
reason is most people in Gensokyo, which is the place Toho is, can fly. Rimu does it better than everyone else and can fly through life itself. Where, in my definition, she can hit you, but you can't hurt her. That's why it had to be nerfed. Because before she could just do it infinitely.
Like I said, the best main characters, like if your character is eventually going to be the most powerful, you have to have an entire series of them not being the most powerful, of other characters showing how strong they are as well. So when they finally take the mantle as strongest, it's actually worth something.
Another thing. Every character in Toho is overpowered. There's another character called Okia, which can literally take your power and have it for herself. With no backlash. The game is filled with overpowered characters. And fun fact, before Okisha arrived, Reno had a clean slate of victories. She did not even lose once. Until that changed till she arrived. That's how overpowered she was.
Yeah, I would agree with that shit. It's all shit.
Also, chat, just to show off on stream really quick, these are some art we've had done for Cassie birthday. And genuinely, thank you guys so much for the art. It really does mean a lot
Also,
to me. Top one is Kazi and Dragon Skull. Thank you so much, Dragon. And the bottom one was done by one Blueberry. Thank you all so much for it. It really means a lot to me.
there's also a rule that has been put in place by most people in Gensokyo, which is the spell card rule. Basically stop death, destruction, and all that from happening, and gives weaker people a chance to actually win. That's why most people are handicapped.
Yeah, that's shitty writing.
It's a video game.
It's still shitty writing. I'm a firm believer that there's no shield you can hide behind that makes shitty writing okay. Like a lot of people do this for kids shows, and that's why you get Teen Titans Go, and things. Then you know that you can have actual good writing, and that's how you get things like Young Justice and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Agreed.
Like, there's just one that so oftentimes I'll turn on kids cartoons for my dogs when I go to work because they need the background noise. They have separation anxiety. I wish I was joking about that, but it's this animated movie. It's a CGI thing, I guess you could say. Kids who are in a poor school, their rivals are a very rich school, basically one that actually gets government funding, and the kid is openly in the title screen rebellious. And the problem I have of it is this show treats that like it's a good thing, you know. I'm gonna try to pull it up.
Like, most shows nowadays are really shit.
Honestly, most shows are, and I'm like, I struggle to find something I want to watch these days that's not just rewatching something. And there's an actual reason why. So, you know the guy that writes Teen Titans Go, right?
Yeah.
You know he exists. He's also the guy that wrote the original Teen Titans Everybody Loves. And when asked why he chose to make Titans Go instead of just continuing or remaking the original, he said, "The same amount of people will watch it, and I'll get paid the same either way, so why would I put in the effort?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the actual desire to, I don't know, create art that people will love and talk, because Teen Titans is over a decade old.
Oh God, it's
People are
been
talking
brutal.
about it. So is Atla. So is the original Young Justice. Like, these are good shows that people talk about more than a decade after they've ended, because the people that they're cared about writing and art and making something unique and interesting that people wanted to see. And now that people realize, especially with kid shows and animation in general, that it's people will watch it, especially if they're given no other options. So why not just make shit and then check and then cash in?
Good night, Adar. Honestly,
Yeah.
I can't watch these modern kid shows simply because it just feels like filler. Like that's the thing I love about older kid shows is while yes, they were meant to effectively just distract your kid from their life, at the same time, they were also good at teaching your kids a lesson and teaching them something new.
So modern kid shows
Like I
teach.
remember watching the Rugrats movie where on top of that, they could have emotional moments, like genuine, like oh my god, I'm gonna cry moments. Like I remember one show I cried about when I was a kid, and it still actually genuinely upsets me to watch it to today. I can't watch that scene. Is from one of the Rugrats movies, and where they get separated from the parents, they're lost in the woods. You know, you can imagine the fear in the parents' eyes. You know, first off, their kids go out missing all the time, but now their kids are lost in a forest. They're babies. But it's the scene where Tommy is above Dill, and Phil and Lil, yeah, Dill, the little baby who's young enough that he can't even talk or walk, and they're surrounded by baboons, and these baboons have been tormenting the whole time, and it becomes clear that they want the banana sauce, but at the same time they've been trying to keep the baby, and Tommy is growing so sick of this little baby. He's standing above Dill. Dill's crying as he's about to pour banana flavored and scented baby food all over Dill and let the monkeys take him. First off, that is dark considering we know baboons will rip a fucking baby's face off and apart. Second off, it's that it was so surprising back when I was younger, and to this day, it's always one of those scenes I cannot watch simply because, and it's just so surprising, shocking. It's something you would not see in a modern day show, and like I said, I consider that a good scene because it was meant for kids. For kids. This isn't fucking, Teen Titans Go or fucking iCarly, where it's obviously meant for teenagers or around that age. This is
Teen
meant for
Titans Goes
little.
for 7-year-olds.
It's meant for fucking little kids. And it has a
And
scene where a brother is about to basically let a bunch of monkeys basically rip apart his baby brother.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna bring up Atla because I have two really good examples from that. So here, the first one, and people probably know what I'm talking about here. The first message that the show tried to teach was war was bad. And you know, one of the best
I
ways they
can't
taught that
hear
message
that.
was,
I didn't interrupt, but I can't hear that phrase without thinking war's bad. Okay.
you know what they did to teach that message.
What?
There's a this is an episode that everybody got like their own little 3-minute story, right? And one of these characters who's an old general who fought in the war most of his life, right? It's his he's going about doing all these errands. He buys a basket, some nice flowers. He does some good deeds for people, right?
Yeah.
He genuinely radiates grandpa energy, right? And then you get to the end of the episode, and he's in the middle of on a hill with a single tree. Nobody else is around. It's sundown. The scene is quiet. The music is gone. You see what he'd been preparing for the entire skit as he sets up an offering to the dead, and the picture of a son he lost 10 years ago to warfare appears, and he begins singing a children's song which he sung previously in the skit that was happy and joyous. And during the song, which is now somber and quiet, he breaks down crying as he finishes singing it. And the voice, oh my god, the voice actor absolutely sells this shit as the sound of an old man crying over his dead son's photo while he sings a child's lullaby. is absolutely heartbreaking. And you in that moment you feel the actual real world repercussions of war as families are torn apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that to me, and this is why I always think that shows like that could be perfect for modern day generations because that, in my genuine opinion, has a much better impact than some skit where they do a more comedic, child friendly approach. Like this is something I will say to the day I die. War is something that we should not be doing comedic little. Hey guys, in case you didn't know, war is bad. Okay, you need to hammer it in, and I hate to say this, hammer it in at a young age. War is fucking bad. It is something humanity should and is still trying to, sadly, but we are failing with that. Trying to avoid doing. There's a reason why we have not had a World War III yet.
And the thing is, especially with the example I just gave, this character had this was one of 3 times he wasn't smiling. Like this guy rated happy-go-lucky grandpa energy, and to see him suddenly a complete 180, have a moment of pure, and I mean go watch Iroh's song "Tales from Ba Sing Se." Like the episode's called "Tales from Ba Sing Se." If you watch it, he's got
Yeah.
like a 3 minute skit in it. The old man, his voice acting is pure sadness, and I've only seen like good voice acting like that a few other times.
One other
And
episode. Go ahead.
the other example I want to bring up from the same show is revenge is bad. And how they do this is they give one of the main characters, the female lead of the show, an entire episode where she teams up with the reformed villain to track down her mother's murderer. And she is like she literally commits war crimes in tracking this guy down. She does some horrible things, and eventually she tracks him down, and she turns the rain into knives of ice and is literally hurtling hundreds of razor sharp daggers of ice at him, and stops at the last second and sees how pathetic the man standing before her begging for his life is, and decides that while she will never forgive him, that this is beneath her, and
It's
it will only
more.
stain her soul to continue the violence further, so
It'd
she
be
leaves.
mercy to kill him, basically.
No, not even a mercy. Although you do see throughout the episode his life is sad. He's an old retired war hero, yet lives with his abusive mother. Oh, he like shit like growing shitty carrots out of the ground as a farmer now. He was a former her murder was like a former military general. Like he's like laid his life has gone to shit. But no, she realizes that killing him would only stain her soul. So she chooses to leave. And again, like this is amazing moments of voice acting and visual storytelling as they animate multiple emotions going across her face with pain, reluctance, determination, anger, sorrow. As she's like you can see this person, like this animated figure, going through emotions, and you can empathize with it. And this carries the connotation of it's 100-year war. Like you see people with battle scars everywhere, and you hear horror stories, and like the main character is the lone survivor of a genocide, for fuck's sake. Like,
Yeah.
and to cap all this off, they have this is how they choose to give you the revenge is bad message. In any other story where people wouldn't even bat an eye at I'm going to kill my mother's killer, this is how they choose to tell you this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And
Have
it's
you,
writing you can't argue with, like, as they do such a good job, and they show you a message in frankly ways that trust kids to be mature.
Like, one thing I've talked about in real life is if war was to happen, like actual war, it would already be over in a couple of minutes.
if a world war was to happen, but Heavy Arms says social media hurts TV shows because helicopter parents go crazy when a show wants to teach a needed lesson to kids that they don't like. The problem is those same helicopter parents got the stuff we were talking about. Because if the stuff we were talking about when they were kids, because these are the parents who grew up with fucking
And funny thing is, they won't. They wouldn't like. Yeah, they're our age, and they grew up watching things like Atla and Justice League and like shows that we're talking about. The funny thing is, though, they won't let a new show do this, but they'll more than happily sit down and watch Atla with their kids.
Another episode that always stuck with me for sending such a fucking strong message was, and this just shows you guys, I'm 26 years old as of today. But I remember watching this as a kid. It was a Sesame Street episode called, and if I'm just gonna say this name, and if you've seen Sesame Street, you will know the name of the episode. The episode's name is Goodbye, Mr. Hooper. It is the episode where they deal with death. Mr. Hooper dies, and it was one of the. It was one of the episodes where you really you can feel the character who plays Big Bird's sadness. Like, you can actually genuinely feel the despair in the character's voice, despite the fact that they are in character. And
I didn't hear a single thing you just said.
Pay attention on stream, but it's basically one of those where it deals Mr. Hooper. I can't remember if they're a character. It's been a while, but a character, they learn of a person called Mr. Hooper. They had died, and in the entire time, like and it's sad because it was Big Bird, the big yellow bird, and they're like, when is he gonna come around? And they're like, well, Mr. Hooper isn't coming back, and Mr. Hooper's gone away for a while, and he's like, oh well, when are they coming back? And then it keeps going until they eventually have to break the news that Mr. Hooper is dead. And this is Sesame Street, okay, kids? This is Sesame Street, and it's dealing with a heavy topic such as death. And they do it in a way that's very sad. You can feel the sadness from the person who played Big Bird. The only time I've seen them that sad was when they sung a song at Jim Henson's fucking funeral.
Yeah.
And just for context, chat, at Jim Henson's funeral, the person who played Big Bird, they almost couldn't finish the song because they were actually crying inside the suit at the funeral. Shit like that sticks with you as a kid.
It honestly it does, and it takes mature because, and the thing is though, a lot of kids already have to confront death. Like I lost family at an early age. Hell, when I was fucking 6, I watched my first dog get eaten. That's a grim ass story. I just thought of another one. And I completely just 180 that story. So I brought this up a couple times in the show Young Justice, and the show Young Justice is, if it wasn't obvious, follows like the Justice League's sidekicks in their own little, like, basically a Black Ops unit under the Justice League, where they're learning to eventually move up. But there's one plot line with the character Superboy, if you can't tell who he's the sidekick of, who is
Batman.
He's actually in this show he's the clone of Superman, and Superman wasn't aware there was a clone made of him. So through the entire first season, there's this dichotomy of people like Batman literally pulling Clark Kent aside and going, "Look, you're not happy about it, but you're basically that thing's dad, and you need to step up." And like the entire time, Superboy, every time he's there, Superboy is either trying to impress him, get his approval, looking to him for advice, and Superman is not comfortable with this. He's angry that his DNA was taken against his will. He's angry that this clone exists. Every time he's brought up, he changes the subject, he shuts it down. He's a couple times yelled angrily, "That's not my son." And it's an extremely sensitive topic because neither party consented to this shitty situation, and yet both of them are stuck with it. And as the audience, we're led to believe, oh my god, help the poor thing. Because while as a teenager, Superboy is technically only like 6 months old, so he has very little actual life experience.
Yeah.
And he literally looks up with like puppy dog eyes, and then there's like looking what to do, and Superman won't even meet his eyes. And then there's other scenes where he's like, because Superboy is actually like a watered down version of Superman, he's struggling to pull a school bus off the side of a bridge before it goes over. And he's straining himself, and then Superman picks it up from the other side and casually lifts it over. And you can see the hurt on Superboy's face as he goes, "I could have lifted that." as he doesn't want to appear weak. He wants to appear worthy of the parental figure's love. And it doesn't really get a proper resolution, as the closest they get is Superman eventually calls him brother instead, basically admitting like, I have to do something with you. And this is only after like an intense going through proving himself to Superman, and Superman having to open up to him, and it's a very hard topic. It's not a lesson. It's more like a question the writers asked the audience, which were children. Like, which side is morally right, if any side is right or wrong, and what should happen. And like, people were left to do this, and there was actual debates over this.